This program is rated PG. It contains themes and scenes which may not be suitable for very young audiences. Parental guidance is advised.
We're working to connect a region of over 600 million bridges between our lands.
Hello, I am Crystal Mapa and welcome to ASEAN in Focus. And joining me today is Esther Odanga. Hello, Esther.
Hi, Crystal. I'm Esther Odanga from EBC Thailand Bureau, bringing you the news in the dynamic ASEAN region.
On today's headlines.
Hindi po natin kinakailangan.
Malacanang said the Philippines will never cooperate with any investigation to be initiated by the International Criminal Court or ICC into the government's anti-illegal drugs campaign.
Would like to welcome
Israeli authorities announced the lifting of the indoor mask requirement as its caseload remains low and small. Earlier, Eagle Broadcasting Corporation was able to talk to His Excellency Raphael Harpas, Ambassador of Israel to the Philippines.
A Malaysian court will rule Wednesday on a challenge by the family of a French-Irish teenager over an inquest verdict that she died by misadventure after vanishing in the jungle.
Join me as I visit Moo Market, a famous souvenir market here in Chonburi Province.
like sweet banana crisp, sweet taro crisp,
First, in the Philippines will never cooperate with any investigation to be initiated by the International Criminal Court or ICC into the government's anti-illegal drugs campaign, Malacanang said Tuesday. In a press briefing, presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said the Philippine government will not cooperate with any ICC probe because the country is no longer a member of the Hague-based body. Let's listen in.
Sa mga komunista. Hindi po natin kinakailangan ang mga dayuhan na mag-imbestiga ng patayan dahil sa drug war, dahil gumagana po ang sistemang legal sa Pilipinas, merong mga piskal at merong mga hukumang naglilitis at nagparusa na. Sinabi na po ng ating presidente, hindi tayo magko-cooperate dahil hindi na tayo miyembro ng ICC. Kung sila ay magsasampa ng kaso, ang basihan ng ebidensya lamang nila ay ebidensya na ibinigay ng kaliwa na siyang pumapatay din ng ordinaryong mamamayan, gaya na nangyari doon sa football player, dyan po sa kailan lang po ang pangyayari. Yang mga patayan ng NPA, yan ang dapat tinitignan ng ICC, hindi ang patayan dahil po sa isang valid and legitimate exercise of police powers, the war against drug. Sasayangin lang nilang panahon, sasayangin lang nilang resources ng hukuman dahil without cooperation from the Philippine state, hindi naman makakabuo ng kaso kung hindi base sa ebidensya na hearsay at galing mismo sa mga komunista at politikong kalaban ng presidente. Which brings me to the last point. Sino ba naghain niyang kasong yan? Hindi ba ngayon gustong tumakbo ng presidente o vice-presidente? Hindi ba politika ang dahilan kung bakit isinampa ang kasong yan? At politika rin ang dahilan kung bakit si Prosecutor Bersuda ay nagsampa. Dahil ang pula sa kanya, ang kinakasuhan lang niya, mga kapwa Aprikano niya, kinakailangan niya magkaso ng hindi Aprikano para patunayan na hindi totoo na kaya lang niya magsampa ng kaso sa kapwa Aprikano niya. And good luck to her political career in her home state. Pero not at the expense of Presidente Rodrigo Roa Duterte. Insulto po kasi sa lahat ng Pilipino para sa isang dayuhan gaya ni Bersurda at para sa kapwa Pilipino na magsabi na yung mga legal institution natin sa Pilipinas ay hindi gumagana at hindi nagbibigay katarungan. Insulto po yan. Mako-compare tayo sa mga country gaya ng Darfur, yung mga lugar na wala talagang gumaganang gobyerno. Hindi.
The Duterte administration's drug campaign has been under preliminary examination of the Office of the Prosecutor since February 2018. Manila cut ties with the ICC after outgoing ICC prosecutor Fatu Bensouda in February 2018 pushed through with the preliminary examination of the communication filed by lawyer Jude Sabio before the International Tribunal. Sabio's communication accused Duterte of perpetrating crimes against humanity for thousands of alleged extrajudicial killings of drug suspects since the anti-narcotics drive was launched on July 1, 2016 until March 31, 2017. But he eventually dropped the communication he filed before the International Tribunal. In June, Justice Secretary Menardo Guevara announced the creation of an interagency panel that will reinvestigate the drug-related killings. Meanwhile, the Dangerous Drugs Board, or DDB, reiterated that there are no state policies that tolerate killings and other human rights violations in relation to the government's anti-drug campaign.
Now let's go over to Thailand, where total number of COVID-19 infections in the country passes 200,000. Here's Veronica Carino for the report. Hi, Veronica.
Hello, Esther. Thailand's total number of COVID-19 infections surpassed 200,000 yesterday, according to the Public Health Ministry, who reported 3,000 new cases and 19 fatalities in the previous 24 hours. There were 2,360 infections reported in the general population and 640 infections among prison inmates. During the same time period, 4,774 patients with novel coronavirus recovered and were discharged from hospitals. There have been 173,401 infections since April 1, around the time the third wave began, with 135,292 recovering. There have been a total of 202,264 COVID-19 infections since the pandemic began early last year, with 162,718 people recovering. The death toll has now risen to 1,485 people, with 1,319 dying during the third wave. Apimasay Srirangsan, a spokeswoman for the Center of COVID-19 Situation Administration, or CCSA, said the 19 new fatalities range in age from 34 to 92. 11 of the participants were men, while the remaining 8 were women. With 11, Bangkok had the most fatalities, while Samut Prakan had 3, Saraburi had 2, while Nakhon Si Thammarat, Prachinburi, and Yala each had 1. 10 of those who died had high blood pressure. 6 people got COVID-19 from family members, and 3 others got it from co-workers, a hospital patient, or air conditioning technicians. There were 2,355 local infections and 5 imported cases among the 3,000 new cases reported in the last 24 hours. Local infections were confirmed in hospitals in 1,814 cases and in 541 cases through mass testing. Bangkok had the most cases, followed by Samut Prakan, Pathum Thani, and Samut Sakhon. There were also new cases in Nakhon Pathom, Ranong, Chachoengsao, Pattani, Songkhla, and Nonthaburi. In the capital, 85 clusters have been reported, including 96 cases among 363 workers at the Supalai condominium project's construction workers camp at Phai Chai intersection in Bangkok Noi district. The camp was closed and mass testing was conducted there in the nearby communities, according to Dr. Apimasai. Because most cases were men, the number of cases among construction workers was causing a shortage of hospital beds for male patients in Bangkok. This update is from Bangkok Post. Back to you, Esther.
Thank you, Veronica, for all your updates. Please stay safe and stay healthy.
Thank you, and likewise, reporting from Thailand, this is Veronica Carino. We live in interesting times.
Meanwhile, in Maldives, the minister said the Maldivian government has no plans of privatizing any government-operated airport. We have Stephanie Dewan for the report. Hello, Steph.
Hello, Cristel. Good afternoon. Yes, Maldivian government has no plans of privatizing any government-operated airport, according to Economic Minister Fayez Ismail. Economic Ministry has been hit with criticism over a recent amendment to the foreign direct investment policy to allow 100% foreign-owned companies to invest in operation of airports in Maldives. In a press conference on Monday night, Fayez said that the government is merely reverting the foreign direct investment to its origin. He also said that the opportunity to operate airports was open for 100% foreign-owned companies back during former President Abdul Gayoom's administration, and that it was the current administration which amended the foreign direct investment policy to reduce the share to 75%. He said that the foreign direct investment policy was reverted back following some investors to allow 100% foreign-owned companies to operate airports as the government seeks investors for several planned airports development projects. Fayez mentioned that the government has no intention of giving any shares in government-operated airports to a private company. He said that the most of the airports are currently being run at a loss, but the government has no intention of privatizing those airports either. Fayez also addressed allegations the government plans to sell Maldivian airports to $5 million through the recent amended to foreign direct investment policy. The amendment states that $5 million needs to be invested within 5 years as the minimum initial investment. According to the amendment to foreign direct investment policy, 100% foreign-owned companies can invest in operation and management of airports, airport and traffic control activities, and ground service activities on airfields. However, Fayez said earlier this Monday, the amendment does not allow for the operator of air traffic control by foreign companies, and that the wordings of the amendment will be changed to remove any misunderstandings. And that's my quick update from Maldives. Back to you, Cristel.
Thank you so much for your time and your updates. Steffi, stay safe as always.
Thank you so much, Cristel, and be safe also. Reporting live from Maldives, this is Steffi de Juan, and we live in interesting times.
Esther and I will be back for more updates after this short break. Don't go away.
This portion is brought to you by Security Bank.
Innovation, digital disruption, globalization. Startups, micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as large corporations, all face interesting challenges in the market today. Peek into the world of exciting opportunities and partnerships to drive growth with the latest business news and information. We are open for business. your weekly dose of entrepreneurial inspiration to update you on the latest developments in the world of business. Get up close and personal with CEOs and thought leaders to help you discover valuable insights, sharpen your instincts for smart decision making with the latest markets and economic trends, disruptive ideas, global innovation, social entrepreneurship, and other leading-edge business ideas. Join the conversations to create a more vibrant environment for entrepreneurship. Catch Open for Business, from vision to action.
Welcome back to the program. To more news, Israeli authorities announced the lifting of indoor mask requirement as its caseload remains low and small. Earlier, Eagle News Broadcasting Corporation was able to talk to His Excellency Raphael Harpas, Ambassador of Israel to the Philippines, who gave us an update on the success story of Israel in tackling the pandemic. He also talked about how they took care of our Filipinos living in Israel. Take a look.
Would like to welcome to our program Israeli Ambassador to the Philippines, His Excellency Raphael Harpas. Welcome to the program again, Mr. Ambassador.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me again, Alma here.
Yes. The last time we talked, Israel is already open, reopened your economy fully. Could you give us an update on what is happening now in Israel?
Starting yesterday, no need for masks, not indoors, not outdoors, except for hospitals or people that were not vaccinated, and certainly at the airport. There is no mask. There is really normal life in Israel, completely normal life in Israel. And the economy is start to move fast. We have a fast recovery of the economy. Unemployment is going down. And even tourism is starting slowly with the right measures. So we are doing very well. We beat COVID, and we are back totally back in track, and we are very proud of this.
Mm-hmm. What about for unvaccinated people? Will they still be needing masks?
There are some restrictions about unvaccinated people. First, there's the group of children under 12 years old. They can't be vaccinated. Then we started vaccinating the ages from 12 to 15 after the FDA has approved it. And we don't, as you know, we don't have, you can force people to be vaccinated. Even more than 5.5 million Israelis were vaccinated. But we have a very strict protocols. If you want to travel abroad, for example, you need to do a COVID test and other things. So COVID doesn't get headlines in Israel anymore, I would say. You know, things which is good. We are back. I know many countries are struggling. We are doing very well.
Mm-hmm.
But we need to stay vigilant. We need to be that's correct. So, for example, if you're not vaccinated and you're returning to Israel, you need to go for a quarantine. If you've been exposed, if you're vaccinated and you're exposed to somebody which is sick, you don't need a quarantine in Israel because you're protected, you're vaccinated. And in Israel, the population was vaccinated by Pfizer, even though we have also Moderna, but it's Pfizer. And also all the 30,000 Filipinos OFWs were vaccinated by us for free. All the students from TESTA were vaccinated by us. All the team of the Filipino embassy diplomats, including the ambassador, were vaccinated by us. All those newcomers, OFWs, which comes every day to Israel, they land and they get the vaccine immediately for free, no cost.
It's amazing. You began your rollout in December, remarkably swift, spurred by this massive supply of doses. And the Green Pass. What's the update on the Green Pass?
Well, first, why Israel has a very developed and health system, and it's all the distribution is done by 4 HMOs that are medical organizations, which every Israeli is affiliated to each one of them, and gives you all your medical services. And we have a national health law that all of us are covered. The Green Pass is not relevant actually now. It's not relevant, which is at the beginning that was the incentive, but now it's a non-issue. I know here all those issues are hardly a non-issue. I have to be we have to stay vigilant because we have I saw in a school, for example, in central Israel, there were 11 pupils that were sick because one of the fathers that came from abroad that was sick. But generally, life is normal. They just walk in the streets, no mask, nothing, no face. And except medical hospitals and other places. But again, I think we need to stay vigilant. Also, Israel secured 16 million doses for 2022 of Pfizer and Moderna. It's not for the people that are vaccinating now. It's for a potential third dose or a booster that might be needed. So we decided that we'll go for it because we were the first in the world, almost the first in the world, that started a massive vaccination campaign, and we have this herd immunity now, and all the eyes of the world are at Israel because we are the laboratory. We are a small country. You can't compare it to the Philippines or the US. We are small, but it's very successful, and no major side effects. Because when we started in December, a lot of things were not known. And people were concerned. Now we know the vaccine is working. Yes. And it's working very well. And actually, the country has extended the validity of the vaccine for a year because we know it's working. So now it's extended for at least a year until the end of December 2021. And so life is very normal now.
What about the Filipinos there? What if they don't have HMOs?
They have it. Automatically they are insured. It's a must. You have to be part, you have to be affiliated. That's it. There is no one Filipino that he can go to a doctor. We take good care of the Filipinos in Israel. And as far as I know, we are the first country that offered and vaccinated the Filipinos OFWs abroad. I know it's highly appreciated by the Filipinos.
Oh, we highly appreciate it. Yes.
And we appreciate the Filipino OFWs because they are caregivers and they take care of our most beloved people, our parents and grandparents. Elderly, and they did an amazing work during this really tough months of COVID and lockdowns that we had in Israel at the last year and the 3 months.
Recently, I know that we had like a fragile situation with the Hamas, but you took care of the OFWs, giving them warnings and all that.
They are part of us. We treat them like we treat them our own citizens. This is how Israel is treating all the OFWs.
How is the situation now? It's back to normal.
Well, we have a new government in Israel, a new prime minister. It's been exactly 2 days ago. Prime Minister Naftali Bennett is the new prime minister of Israel. With a new foreign minister, Yair Lapid. So we wish for the state of Israel that the government will succeed. But we won't accept any, attacks on Israel, something which is very, very important. And not even one country in the world will agree that thousands of missiles will be shot on Israel. And we need to protect ourselves with the right of self-defense.
True. What about flights? Any outbound, inbound travel? Has there been updates on that?
Well, first, flights to Israel are going from all over the world, but from the Philippines, and I'm very happy that Taal has announced formally that they are intending to start flying in October the direct flights to Israel. We are welcoming it. It's been discussed already before COVID and agreed. Now it's in the final process of a lot of bureaucracy, but the intention of Taal to fly, it's a great news. And it will be a successful line, I believe, because the basic thing is the lack of, in normal days, the lack of, no need for visa. When you don't need for visa, both citizens from both sides, this is a basic element to have a movement of tourists, businessmen, between the two countries. And the fact that there is no in normal days, again, now in COVID, it's different times, no request for visas, it's a basic element. Add to this the huge interest of Israelis. I see it in all the Facebook groups. They just want to return to the Philippines, to travel here, to go to the rice terrace in the Cordillera, to Banaue, to Segada, to go to the beautiful islands of Siquijor and Camiguin and El Nido and Boracay and Coron. And the same for Filipinos, which are eager to go back to visit the Holy Land, Jerusalem and Nazareth and the Sea of Galilee and the Dead Sea and to visit the OFW. So the potential is enormous. We had in 2019, before COVID, we had approximately 35,000 Filipino tourists visiting Israel, in addition to the 30,000 OFWs, which are living first. And we had around 25,000 Israelis which were visiting the Philippines tourists. So the numbers will grow dramatically, and it will add a lot to our people-to-people contact, to investment, to business, which is already growing. So I'm welcoming this decision, and we as a government will assist and facilitate in whatever we can when it comes to this line, which is a very important decision for us.
What can we learn from Israel regarding COVID-19?
Well, I can tell you what are the lessons. There are a lot of lessons that we take from what we have experienced the last bit more than a year. First, we learned that we need to strengthen our medical system. We need to strengthen our doctors and nurses and the other teams that are working. We need to strengthen our hospitals. And this is very, very important. Strong health system is a strong national security. This is first. Second, we have learned that we can work from a distance. In normal days, we conduct this interview face-to-face. And the working from distance, it has many advantages. Less pollution, less traffic, gives people more time with the family. So this is something that really it's open our doors to new venues and to use new technology, distance learning, and things that were not so developed before the crisis. Mm-hmm. Then we realized, especially in Israel, that we need to give more support to the private businesses, especially the small businesses, because those that work, for the government, for public institutions, they were fine. But those small businesses, a restaurant, a grocery shop, a small furniture shop, they were hit badly during this time because of the lockdowns. And so this is, for example, in Israel, we have a very systematic system of unemployment payments for people which are working for getting paid a monthly salary, but it wasn't existing for private business. So now it's something that the new government actually is also going to look into it, and which is very, very important. So these are the lessons I think that, and the virus doesn't have borders. So it's international cooperation in this respect is very, very important. And I'm very pleased that when it comes to the Philippines, Israel was capable of assisting the Philippines during this crisis. In several occasions, I submitted donations. We share our know-how. And actually in the coming next week, there is a high-level delegation that will come from Israel to share with your task force and your medical institutions and government and the way that Israel dealt with the distribution of the vaccines.
This is very encouraging news. Going back, your very good news about restoring confidence in travel. You also had mutual recognition of COVID-19 vaccine passports with other countries.
Correct. We had it with, if I'm not wrong, we proposed it to several countries, including the Philippines. I know you're still learning it. We have it, I think, with Cyprus, with Hungary, with Greece, and a few other European countries. And the basic is that we recognize, and Israel for the time being is recognizing Moderna and Pfizer. We don't have AstraZeneca, so I think that's why they did that. And we had the groups of tourists that already arrived in this formula. Mm-hmm. If you're vaccinated and you did a COVID test, then no need for quarantine. And there is certain regulation because we need the industries that were hit most badly were the entertainment industry, the food industry, and the tourism industry. And it's true, we have a very strong internal tourism industry, but that's not enough. So this is a major element now. We need to do it with precautious. We need to be careful, with all those variants. But it's starting, and it's very good news.
Yes, at least the vaccines are proven effective against some variants, though.
Yeah, they're very effective.
Especially Pfizer.
Pfizer, they are as far as I know, they are covering almost all the variants in certain degrees, and it's an amazing achievement for the science. If this discussion would take place a year ago, there was no vaccine. Mm-hmm. And now everybody are moving. Also here, I see more and more of my friends being vaccinated, and I think it's and I tell them if there is a vaccine, just go for it.
How about work? Is it still mostly work from home?
No, they're over, finished. No, life is normal in Israel. School, that's it. That's it. It's over. There was the final. They had the end of the soccer league in Israel. The last game, 30,000 people at the field. No mask, nothing. That's it. Concerts are back. Life is normal. Movie theaters are going to be open now, or opened already, actually. That's it. It's pretty normal. It's normal life.
So it's good to go to Israel.
Well, ask the OFWs. They can tell you the 30,000. Life is that's it. We are back, and you will be back. Country, but life will be back. I see more and more countries, slowly, because and it's the vaccines and the willingness of the population to take the vaccine, and it will come.
Do you think how are Israeli and Philippine relations strengthened despite this pandemic?
Well, actually, during the pandemic, we're dealing mainly at the beginning when it started. We're dealing mainly with taking Israeli tourists that were stranded here to Israel, and we got so much assistance from the Filipino government and from the LGUs because they were not based in Manila. They were in the Israelis went to all the remote islands in the Philippines. So to bring them to Manila, and that was quite a challenging the first few months, and we get so much assistance from the Filipino government. Then we worked from the day one with the task force on sharing information about how Israel is dealing with the crisis, how do you deal with public safety. And then afterwards, we submitted the assistance both to the Department of Education, which is distance learning material, which is a major issue, and then with the Department of Defense and the Philippine National Police, with protective equipment and other equipment. And then and now we are bringing our top-level delegation in the next week exactly to share this experience, how we did all of this. And again, vaccinating the Filipinos in Israel, I am so proud of this. From day one, and this makes me proud. And the Philippines were very, very helpful to us. I can tell you, having the OFWs in Israel, so many OFWs returned to the Philippines, but having them in Israel, that was crucial because the most vulnerable population in Israel were the elderly. And in Israel, it's different from the Philippines. Either you go to an elderly home or you stay home with a Filipino. That's the term Filipino is a brand for good people and good service. And while we couldn't meet our parents and grandparents during the COVID. They not to that there won't be to keep them protected from the pandemic. The Filipinos were there for them, and they did an amazing way. And thank you very much. Thank you very much for what you did for us every day, all the years. But that was the moment that we needed it most. And now I see that the demand is growing because I see every day so many Filipinos coming to the embassy to do their paperwork to go to be as OFWs in Israel. So I'm very happy, very happy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. Any last message for those watching you right now?
Well, I'm going to end very soon my term in the Philippines, and I love this country. I love the Filipino country. It was those last 3 years were very unique and special in our relations. I was a new ambassador 1 week in the Philippines when I was the official escort of your president, President Duterte, in his historic visit to Israel. And since then, our relations are booming. During pandemic, we opened here in Manila, while most embassies are sizing down, we opened for the first time our defense attaché office in the Philippines. Our commercial mission was open here in the Philippines. We inaugurated an honorary consulate in Davao, which is covering all of Mindanao, and I'm living with a lot of satisfaction of our relations, a lot of love to the Filipino people, and I'm sure I will be back here as a tourist for sure. And I want to thank you, everyone. Maraming salamat to all of you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Thank you for taking care of our Filipinos there and for making them as part of your own. Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador.
Thank you very much. All the best. See you. Shalom. See you in Jerusalem.
Thank you, Alma and Ambassador Raphael Harpas for the update. Christelle and I will be back after a short break.
Events happen around us all the time, in our community, in our country, around the world. Events that affect people, move communities, or simply inspire us. Interesting events that people need to know. In these interesting times, we continue to be a competent partner in delivering news about these events. Fast, accurate, balanced. Eagle News, because we live in interesting times.
Tawagin na natin ang pinakagwapo, napakagwapo, ladies and gentlemen. Let us all welcome Victor Wood!
Nagustuhan nila Direk at Sir Orly yung performance nyo. Kaya sa next episode, mag-partner na kayo.
Record ka ang sarili mong album. Wala. Hindi papatok yung ganyan style.
Payagan nyo lang ako mag-record uli.
I'm sorry, my love, if I've broken your heart.
Si Arceli nga po pala, fiancé ko.
Hindi ka naman dapat kabahan eh.
To forgive me.
Kapag nakapag-ipon ako, papakasal na tayo.
Ihanda nyo na yung kontrata schedules. Ilalabas na natin to sa buong Pilipinas.
Let me kiss and hold you tight.
Kalahati lang ng TF ni Rico at ni Ray yung TF ko eh.
Kung sino ang mas sikat, yun ang mas may malaking talent fee.
Eh kung kasikatan lang ang pag-uusapan, masikat naman ako sa mga yan.
Noon yun, Victor. Pero hindi mo inilagaan.
Kaya kong bumangon kahit wala ka.
Impormasyong mahalaga sa taong bayan. Patas na pagbabalita. Papakinggan ang magkabilang panig. Lilinawin ang mga issue at kaagad na ihahatid ng objektibo. Mata ng Agila. Dumadagit ng pinakasariwang pangyayari, hindi lamang sa loob ng bansa, kundi sa iba't ibang panig ng daigdig. Mula sa Eagle News teams at sa tulong ng makabagong teknolohiya, tiyak na makakalap kaagad ang katotohanan. Para sa mas matalas, malinaw at malalimang pagbabalita, ito ang mas pinatalas na Mata ng Agila. Inihahatid ng veteranong broadcast journalist na si Eli Saludar. Kasama si Binibining Pilipinas Intercontinental 2019, Emma Tiglao. At pinangungunahan ng batikang mamamahayag ng bansa, Vic De Leon Lima. Mata ng Agila, Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 6 hanggang alas 8 ng gabi, dito sa Net 25.
Welcome back to the program. Taal Volcano once again generated many volcanic earthquakes for the past 24 hours, despite generating none or few in the past days. The Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology, or PHIVOLCS, recorded 221 volcanic earthquakes, including 29 low-frequency volcanic quakes and 192 volcanic tremor events, having durations of 1 to 135 minutes. Low-level background tremor has persisted since April 8. It is a low-energy vibration of the ground, which can be related to fluid or gas movement. PHIVOLCS Director Renato Solidum Jr. told the Philippine News Agency that the parameters indicate continued magmatic unrest underneath the volcano. It is actively degassing as manifested by the high sulfur dioxide emission and the occurrence of volcanic tremors and earthquakes due to gas motion. The Taal Volcano has been under alert level 2 or increased unrest since March 9, and the threat of phreatic eruption or steam-driven explosion persists. The public is reminded to avoid and not go to the Taal Volcano Island or TVI as sudden steam or gas-driven explosions can occur.
In other news, a Malaysian court will rule Wednesday on a challenge by the family of a French-Irish teenager over an inquest verdict that she died by misadventure after vanishing in the jungle. The body of Nora Corrin, a 15-year-old with learning difficulties, was discovered after a huge hunt through the rainforest following her appearance from a resort outside Kuala Lumpur in 2019. In January, a coroner handed down a ruling of misadventure indicating her death during the family holiday was accidental rather than a crime and said no one else was involved. But her London-based parents, who have dismissed authorities' claims their daughters wandered into the jungle alone at night and believe she was abducted, said they were utterly disappointed by the verdict. They lodged a challenge and are seeking to have the ruling revised to an open verdict, suggesting there are still questions to be answered about the case. Judge Azizul Azmi Adnan is expected to hand down his ruling at 5 p.m. at High Court in Seremban, outside Kuala Lumpur, via video link because of coronavirus curbs. Presenting the family's case at the hearing last week, lawyer Louise Azmi said an open verdict would be appropriate. Malaysian police have stuck to their version of events that the teenager clambered out of a window of the family's holiday chalet and wandered off and insists there was no sign of foul play. But her mother, Miab, has said she believes someone could have placed her body in spot where it was found not far from the resort. The teenager disappeared a day after her family checked in to the Dusun resort, triggering 10-day hunt involving hundreds of rescuers, helicopters, and sniff dogs.
Indonesian doubles badminton champion Markis Kido has died at the age of 36 after he collapsed during a casual match, the country's badminton association said. Kido, who won gold in men's doubles at the 2008 Beijing Olympics, passed out while playing in Jakarta on Monday evening and was later pronounced dead at the hospital, the association said. His untimely death sparked an outpouring of emotion from fans in the badminton-mad country. The cause of Kido's death was not made public, but the former champion suffered from high blood pressure, the Indonesian Badminton Association said in a statement, citing his mother, Zul Asteria. Kido and Setiawan took gold at the Beijing Olympics as well as the 2007 World Championships and the 2010 Asian Games.
Mobile Android phone.
Going back to the Philippines, the Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, on Tuesday assured that the basic information of voters registrants using its newly launched mobile registration form app is protected. Let's watch this.
With this issue, the COMELEC introduced its first ever COMELEC mobile registration. This mobile reg form app is an additional tool in filling up registration form using your mobile Android phone. It doesn't require data or internet connection. Once you download or copy the mobile app from another mobile phone, then you are ready to go. An encrypted QR code is generated and stored in your phone's gallery. Once you have the QR code, the next step is to go to your respective office of the election officer, present the QR code, and printed application form will be generated. And that's it. This app is not in any way replacing our existing a rehistro where applicant can fill up their details, print the application form in 3 copies, and choose a schedule to appear before the election officer. In fact, we encourage those with internet connection at home or in the office to use our iRehistro because it is convenient and easy to use. This mobile form registration app is conceptualized to cater applicants who have no access to internet or where internet connection is poor.
And finally, in our news, our very own Esther Odanga takes us to Moo Market, where a famous souvenir market of Chonburi province. Let's take a look.
Hello everyone, today we are here at the famous souvenir market here in Chonburi City in Thailand. And this is the Moo Market, or what the locals term as Talat Moo. And we're going to try the famous sticky rice in bamboo or kaula. So let's go!
The Moo Market is located on the Sukhumvit Road along the way to Bangsan in Chonburi. In this market, you can find both fresh and processed seafood such as sun-dried squids, dried shrimps, dried razor clam, shrimp paste, and fish sauce. It also sells other Thai foods like various Thai desserts like sweet banana crisp, sweet taro crisp, sweetened fruit preserves, fresh fruits, and more. But the signature dessert in the market is khao lam. It is a sweet custardy sticky rice in bamboo trunk. And if you buy khao lam, don't forget to ask the vendor to open it with a hammer or a knife so you can easily eat the treasure inside.
This is what khao lam looks like inside. It's made of sticky rice, black sticky rice, and with coconut milk and black beans. So come on, let's try it out. It's delicious, especially for people like me who are rice lovers. Having this dessert for your snack, a rice snack, why not? It's worth a try.
Because of the pandemic, Moo Market is less crowded than in the past. But Moo Market still has not lost its classic reputation, especially for its renowned delicious khao lam Moo.
Over the years, Moo Market has been a popular place for locals, especially those who travel to the eastern part of Thailand. And if you can visit Thailand, please don't forget to visit Moo Market or Talat Moo and try out sticky rice in bamboo. This has been Esther Odanga from EBC Thailand Bureau, reminding everyone to stay safe and stay healthy, and we live in interesting times.
Thank you so much, Esther, for that beautiful feature. And probably next time when we visit you again, we will go to that market.
Yes, I'll be waiting you, Christelle, and let's eat khao lam together.
For sure. And that's the latest news for today.
Thank you for joining us today here in ASEAN in Focus.
This is Crystal Mapa from your Thailand Bureau.
And this is Esther Odanga from your EBC Thailand Bureau. And we live
in interesting
times.
Ngayong may pandemya, marami ang walang trabaho at mataas ang presyo ng bilihin. Isa sa nakikitang solusyon para makaiwas sa pagkagutom ay ang pagtatanim. May ilan problemado sa espasyo dahil maliit ang kanilang lugar. Pero may sagot riyan para makapagtanim, ang hydroponics. Sa hydroponics, hindi ginagamitan ng lupa ang pinagtataniman, kundi tubig at nutrient solution lamang.